Everybody loves their idea, right? Everybody thinks it's the best idea in the world, and it's a no-brainer, and if only I show it to the right person, then it'll be worth, gajillion dollars. The truth of the matter is, your idea isn't worth anything. It really isn't. And you're going to talk about IP, and you're going to talk about trademark, and you're going to talk about patents, and you're going to talk about, all sort of intellectual property theft. And I'll give it to you, but at the end of the day, your idea isn't worth anything. What's worth something is your ability to commit to that idea and to get it done. That's what's of value. It's a lot of work to be an entrepreneur. It's a lot of work to take a back of the napkin concept and take it to profitability. If people were going to do that, they'd just come up with their own idea. I mean, they don't want to spend all that time and effort on your dream. They'd do it for themselves. Now, once you get successful and once you get out there and you start having revenues and things, absolutely, you're gonna have to worry about people stealing your idea or stealing a piece of your market. But don't get wrapped up in what your idea is worth, because I've seen people with bad ideas who were really good entrepreneurs make it work, and I've seen people who had amazing ideas who were terrible entrepreneurs, and they'll never make it work. So, focus more on your abilities to get it done. So not all businesses are the same, right? When you're thinking about what you want your business to be, it's not just about, all right, I need to get to X amount of dollars, or I want X number of people, or I want X market share, or I want to be in this many states. It's also about you, right? I mean, it's a work-life balance thing. What does your ideal end result look like? Is it you working 12 to 14-hour days, but the company's growing exponentially and you're doing fantastically well, and when you do retire, you'll be able to, do whatever you want? Or is it more that you want something that will allow you to live a comfortable life and employ a few people and be a member of your community and still have time for your kids or your nonprofit work or whatever else? There's no wrong answer. There's just sometimes people don't ask themselves these questions, and they find, they succeed to failure, basically, right? Which is a weird place to be. The more thought you can put up front to what you want out of your business and what you want out of this experience, the better off you're going to be, because you'll be able to set the stage for that. It's going to determine your growth pattern. It's going to determine your legal structure. It's going to determine how you build your team. It's going to determine how you do your research and any number of other things. The more time you put into that on the front end, the better off you're going to be down the road. Also, timing-wise, you're going to want to look at where you are in terms of readiness to launch, right? So there's a difference between, all right, I've got this really great idea on the back of a napkin. That's probably a little early to quit your job and just go for it, because there's a long time frame between then and even just hanging a shingle out. And then from there, there's still another block of time to profitability. I mean, usually. So you're going to want to look at the timing of what can you do while you're still where you are. When do you really need to just focus strictly on what you're doing, and how much longer is that going to take before you get to profitability, and what do you need to get you from point A to point Z in a reasonable fashion? So it's a complicated question, it's a personal question, but at the end of the day, what's best for you, what's best for your family, and what's best for your business? Those are the three things that are going to inform that decision. To an entrepreneur, business plans are extremely important. It sort of forces you to figure out all the details of what you're planning, how you're going to implement the plan, what you need to get started. It's not, in terms of how solid of a pathway it is, it's not, right? Any business plan is only as good as as soon as you start trying to implement it, and then everything changes. But knowing that you've gone through the steps to figure out what your market is, how much money you're going to need to make it through a year of operations, how much revenue do you have to generate before your money will run out, are you going to need staff? Those are all the things that you sort of work through in a business plan. And even though you don't have to stick to it, it's still important to do the legwork and figure out at least your best guess. If you don't know who you're selling to, then you don't know what you're selling. Your customer base is really the most important thing, and companies, almost any company, spends an amazing amount of time trying to figure out more about their customers, what they want, what they're looking for, what they're unhappy with. The problem is it's difficult information to get. Depending on the size of your market, obviously if you're trying to market something to hundreds of thousands of people, you're not going to be able to call them up individually and ask, hey, what do you think about my product? But maybe you're able to look at market trends or look at broader based research into certain demographics, try to pare it down to something manageable. There's all sorts of really amazing tools out there for trying to interact with people. There's social media, there's online polling, there's traditional forms of mailing, advertising. Finding what's right for you is a mix of your budget, your outcome, the demographic you're trying to reach, how broad a net you're trying to cast. But I think it's really important to truly understand as well as you can the type of person that's interested in your product. Really understanding your strengths and weaknesses is the key to being an entrepreneur, I think, or one of them anyway. Some people are really good at marketing and product development. Some people are really good at sales and financing. I have yet to meet anyone who is across the board good at every aspect of entrepreneurship. I mean, they leverage a lot of different skill sets and a lot of different personality types. I mean, it's rare to find one person that can do it all. And so building a team around yourself is just key to success, because otherwise it's not that you can't fill those gaps, but if you don't have a talent for, say, finance, you can make your books balanced, but you're going to work 10 times as hard as someone who just absolutely loves dealing with numbers and math and finance. So why not find somebody that can, bring that to the table, work a tenth as hard, and you can focus on what you're good at. The trick is knowing your strengths and weaknesses, finding people that share your passion and your vision, finding people that are willing to partner with you and add value to your business or your team, and then recognizing that the more of those people you bring on board, the larger and the better your company is going to be overall. Finding that you don't have somebody in your community with the particular skills you need, and you do have internet, that's the answer. Crowdsourcing is a wonderful way to fill skill gaps without having to give away parts of your company, without having to relocate, frankly. You can find anything from computer programmers, graphic designers, lawyers, that really the sky's the limit. And the rates can be fairly reasonable. I mean, they're not just limited to the state you're in or the country that you're in. You can access a global workforce. Now, for long term, trying to grow and sustain a company on that using strictly crowdsourcing is going to be difficult, but it will allow you to get through the initial stages and really make a lot of progress until you get to the point where hopefully you can attract the talent you need locally. I think that failure is the wrong way to look at it. I think that you either succeed or you learn. Those are the only two options. If you failed, it's because you didn't learn anything from what happened. For example, there was a famous entrepreneur. His first business he started, he lost a fortune. I mean, just lost everything. Second business he started, he lost a little bit. Third business, he broke even. He was pretty happy. So he decided to go back for one more bite at the apple. It turned out to be Twitter, right? So he could have given up at any point along that path. Instead, he learned at each iteration and he got better. Businesses open, they close. It's not the end of the world. The fact that you tried and that you learned from the experience and that you tried again. I mean, that's the quintessential nature of an entrepreneur. You don't give up. Of course it's hard, and of course people fail. And frankly, I wouldn't be really excited about an entrepreneur who had never failed. I think that there's a lot of learning that happens in that process, and I think that it's not something that should be shameful or anything like that. You tried something, it didn't work out, you took it back to the drawing board, you try again. As long as you are open to the idea that whatever happens, if you're successful or if you're failing, learn from what's happening. Be aware of what's going on and what's working and what's not working, and use that to your advantage. If you focus more on what's happening as opposed to why, I think that's where failure really comes in. So I hope that anybody watching at home found this useful. I think that There's been a lot of really good information that has come across through these various videos. If you take away one thing, it's that there are resources, there are tools, there are techniques, and there are services available to just about anyone in this state who is interested in being an entrepreneur. If you can dream it, you can do it. And belief in what you can accomplish is the most important first step you can have. I don't care where you're located. I don't care what your infrastructure looks like. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care what anyone else has told you about what's possible. I really don't. And neither has any other successful entrepreneur in the history of mankind. Those type of rules don't apply. If you want something, if you really want it, you have to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's not failure. It's just a learning opportunity. Accept that and move on. Adjust and pivot. That's what this is all about. It's by working together through a common goal and a common belief in what's possible and what's necessary for the growth of this state that we can move forward. And hopefully, in some small part, these videos will help you do that.